Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me once again for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. It's late tonight. It is late, or maybe it's early. Here it's early, probably over there it's late. I don't know. Anyways, we have some fireside. It's so good. That smokiness, it's kind of like sitting next to a fire or something. It's so good. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. We're doing something a little bit different. We're live. I don't know how this is all going to work out, but we'll try it and see what ends up happening here. I changed things up a little bit to see what works, what doesn't work, and this type of thing. The bottom line is I want to get your feedback. And a lot of you guys have asked me to go live late my time, which would be early your time. All right, overseas. So that's what we're kind of doing today. So hopefully this all, like I said, works out. Today we're going to be talking about Sony, Canon, Nikon. There's a lot of interesting things going on, but I want to just kind of start the conversation a little bit and see where we go with it. I was talking to you guys earlier about Nikon and how they were doing really good, right? Rainbows and unicorns, I think I was saying. And that was kind of all in good, but now all of a sudden, of course, we have to hear some not so good news that I'm going to get into, and we'll see what ends up happening with it. Hopefully, it's not too bad. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and bring up our chats and whatnot and see what's going on with you guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Throw them into the chat window over here. I'm going to try to look at them back and forth. I'm not going to be able to look at them as much, but thank you for being here just the same. But if I see some questions show up in there, I'm going to answer them as we go along. But anyway, so I saw this article that came up, and let me see, where was this? This was F-Stoppers. And they were talking about this disruption that was going to happen due to the new coronavirus and measures that were being taken over in Japan. And let me just read a couple of paragraphs to you guys, just so you kind of get where we sit with it. Anyways, it says parts of Japan were placed under a state of emergency by Japanese government on Friday. The camera manufacturers' plans and supply lines for 2021 might be disrupted as a result. Now, they continue by saying Nikon issued a statement on January 12th expressing its condolences to those affected by coronavirus. In addition, it explained that while it will continue manufacturing, its workforce will be reduced to 30% or less in order to comply with policies put in place to reduce the rate of infection. Now, 30%, you're looking at a 70% reduction in workforce. 70%, guys. That is a ton. That's not a little bit, that is a lot of bit, all right? And I'm thinking this is going to most likely affect Canon also. They continue by saying the Japanese Prime Minister declared a state of emergency for Tokyo and 3 other regions last week, though the new measures are not expected to be as dramatic as those seen earlier in 2020, thank God. Well, Nikon was doing really good with their Z6 and their Z7, right? And I was telling you guys that they had a lot of product out there, and that's why they were they basically bumped Sony out of a position, slot number 2. You had Canon coming in number 1 for sales, and then Nikon just smashed up there in the 2nd position with their Z6 and Z7 Mark II. So that was really good. But this is really not so good, guys. Really not so good. And I don't know. I don't know what is going on with this whole entire thing with the corona, and there has to be an end game here, and I hope that the vaccines that are coming out will really change things up in first quarter, second quarter of 2021. I mean, that's all that we can hope for, but we can see what's going on here, and like I said, I think very similar will happen with Canon. Matter of fact, there's a lot of speculation. And matter of fact, I think that Canon said that it's, let me quote, it says, "We may have to temper our expectations for 2021." The website writes basically over on Canon. And they're saying that, listen, you know, those RF mirrorless cameras that they were saying that they were going to come out with in the next 12 months, it just might not be realistic. They might not be able to do it. I do think that they're really going to push hard for the Canon, the EOS, the R1, right? And that'll probably be just prior to the Olympics. I mean, they really don't have too much of a choice. They're going to have to push for that because that is something absolutely major. Let me see here in the chat window. Hello to everyone that's hanging out. Wow, 9 p.m. California. Yeah, over here it's just over midnight, and all of our friends overseas that said, listen, Joe, can you do something live for us over here on the other side of the pond? That's what we're doing right now. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. Anyways, one other thing that I want to get into, and this I'm trying to make it short tonight, and then I'm going to get into some questions. The other thing was Sony is doing something, a little bit different, as Sony does. We know that they really didn't put out a lot of cameras, right, 2020, and that's probably why they dropped down to 4th position as far as camera sales. I think it was Canon, and then Nikon, and then Fujifilm right underneath them, and then Sony was in the 4th position as far as sales in Japan. They came out with something really interesting at CES, and I'm going to share my screen with you in just a second, but I'm going to read something over to you. Basically, what they did is about 2 months ago, they were talking about coming out with a drone, Sony was, and it was called the Airpeak. And I did a little bit of coverage on it. I talked to you guys about it a little bit, and I thought that it was going to be really cool because, look, if they can put together a really nice camera and attach it to a drone, there's magic there, right? You can do a lot with it. And I think that's what they're doing here with the Airpeak. Well, CES 2021 is going on right now, and they debuted this. I guess they put it out there and they showed videos and they showed the product and whatnot. It's not out in the market as of yet, but it is now, let's say, out there, so to speak, where people are able to see it at CES online or whatnot. So anyways, they said that the first phase of this project, and this project is Airpeak, Sony will launch a new business targeted at professional photography and video production in the spring of 2021. This is a new business, okay? And maybe they're going to use this Airpeak as like the center, right? Maybe like the cornerstone of this new business. It says, in order to fully support the creativity of video creators, the payload of the drone can be equipped with an alpha mirrorless camera to capture high quality full frame aerial photography and video. So they're creating this drone that will actually be able to carry the payload of a decent size A7, I think it was like an R whatever. So you're talking about something decent size. We're not talking about something small, all right? So this is where we're going with this. Now, they continue by saying Airpeak, the industry's smallest class of drone that can be equipped with an alpha system, is capable of dynamic filming and precise, stable flight, and aims to contribute to the world of entertainment while also pursuing new possibilities for creative expression. So once again, wrapping that around, or using this drone capabilities wrapped around this new professional photography, videography, production business that's supposed to be hitting in spring of 2021. That's what Sony does. They throw a lot of crap against the wall and see what sticks. That's what they do, all right? And if something doesn't stick, Sony will just cut it. That's just how they work. That's how they've always worked, and that's how they make so much damn money. So I find this kind of interesting. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you and see if we can pull up this Airpeak that's going on over there so you can actually see what it looks like. Let's see what we got here. Can we do it? Can we do it? I think we might be able to do it. There we go. All right. So this is what it looks like here. Check this out, this little video clip. It's kind of cool. You really don't know what it is as of yet, but now you can tell exactly what it is. And if you look at this drone, see those arms? These arms, they look like they're made out of some type of carbon fiber, and they come down almost like landing gear or something, and then fold back up once it's in flight. So that kind of makes sense, right, guys? You would be able to kind of get it so that it would land and not hurt the camera but also be able to have it so that it has some stability. It's obviously rigid. I mean, that looks like carbon fiber to me. It probably is carbon fiber, but look at that. That is amazing. And it's going to be really small. Now, they didn't say how big this is, but by the looks of the size of the camera, it's probably going to be pretty small. I mean, probably within about a foot, maybe even possibly less. So this is small. So let's go ahead and go down this site just a little bit. You guys can take a look at what's going on here. Here we go. That's filming a car. This is a road test that they did here. I'm not going to go into all of them, but there's a lot of things that they show in here. And if you guys want to go and check it out, go over to Sony's site. You can go to sony.net and then just search for Airpeak. That's AIRPEAK. I'll put like a link down in the description area, or I'll put it also in the comment that I put at the top, like a pinned comment or something. Let's just scroll through some of these. Look at that. Yeah, so you know exactly how big this camera is. So I would say it's probably maybe about 15 inches, 13, 15, somewhere around there. Not that big at all. Now remember, you have all this arms or this landing gear all about it, so it's going to make it look a little bit bigger. Look at that. That looks sweet. Nice. Nice little gimbal at the bottom. So anyways, this is interesting. Now, to me, this is interesting, but I also found really cool because I'm into this. Now, check this out. This is DJI. Now, these are not necessarily images that, let's say, should be out there. They're a little bit leaked images, let's say, but DJI is supposed to be coming out with an FPV. Now, that's a first-person view type of drone. Now, this is the stuff that I'm interested in. This is just, for me, really cool. You put like a nice pair of goggles on, and then you fly it first person. You can use these as like race drones or whatnot. Whereas what you saw with the Airpeak, that's more of a drone that's going to be used for, let's say, capturing motion video for, like they showed, race cars or something like that. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with it, but it's not, for me, what I would be more interested in doing. Now, I told you guys before the end of last year that January, February, at the beginning of this year, I'm going to start building a race drone. And I think I'm going to start probably come towards the end of January. I got a lot of projects that are going on right now. There's a lot of product that's being sent to me to review. It's just like all of a sudden, I don't even know. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But by the end of probably January, I'm going to start building it. And I'm going to take you guys on this little adventure of building this drone. So we'll see what ends up happening with it. We always have to go back to DJI for their goggles because they're digital. And for me, I don't want analog, I want digital, so DJI is going to be the way. Anyways, let me say hello to everyone in the chat. We have Phil, we have Michael, who else? We have Aaron. Thank you for being here. Any good questions that are coming in here? Let me see here. I'd like to know, okay, the Mavic 3 Pro or Zoom. We'll see what ends up happening with that. I mean, the Mavic, some of these things are so small. Literally, you hold them in your hand. And very, very cool. That is for sure. I'm not sure if let me see if I can find one of those. Let me see here. I know I had one like a real quick image that I should be able to pull up, but I don't see it here. I don't know where it ended up going. Anyways, there is some really tiny drones now, and DJI makes one literally this big. I mean, tiny, folds up. But once again, it's that FPV type of style drone where you're actually looking at, you're seeing it, you're immersed in it, and just so cool. So cool. Race drones, for me, that's what I like. Anyway, so these are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with you tonight before, we go back tomorrow morning. And this is more for, like I said, all the people that are overseas. So like I said, if there's some questions that you have, let me know. This is more like a test so we can see if this ends up working or not working. How is the quality? How are the cameras going? Right now, I'm testing it with the Sony. That's like a main camera. I do not have the side camera turned on at all. I don't have any other cameras on, and we're just going through this mic, which is the RE20. So we'll see what ends up happening with this. Does it come across good? Does it sound levels sound good? Is the video okay or whatnot? So let me see here if there's anything in here. How you doing, Marvin? We have Larry. Hello, peace. Thank you very much for being here. Let's see, 80% for, yep. So yeah, I agree. Phil says, good news that, for everyone, that 99.97% chances of survival with the COVID-19, and that is true. They do have the new strand that I've heard about that's out there now. That's supposed to be even more contagious, but if they get these vaccines out there to more people sooner, it will be a good thing. As an example, tomorrow, my parents, who are like 86 years old, are going for shots tomorrow. Okay, they are getting their COVID shots. Okay, so I'm not sure if they were from Pfizer or which ones, but anyways, I think it is 2 shots that they have to get. But regardless, so tomorrow they're going for theirs. So I'll kind of report back to you guys, let you know if there was any side effects or anything. But what they're doing is more of the elderly and people that have, let's say, conditions that will be adversely affected due to COVID. Those are the ones that are getting it first, and then they'll get it out supposedly to everyone else. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. But like I said, my parents are getting their shots tomorrow. So we'll see what ends up happening. I really don't know. That's all we can do is hope for the best when it comes to this stuff. So let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I know. The same thing Michael says, seems like common flu has a higher death rate. It really does, which I find fascinating, honestly. And I think that was the case from the very beginning, that the common flu had a really high death rate in comparison to this. But the common flu, you got to remember too, they usually just let it go. And however it is how it is, right? With this, they did all kinds of stuff and they shut everything down. We're wearing masks and, blast shields, and I don't even know. I mean, I went to my bank, just kind of like anecdotal. I went to my bank and they said that they weren't taking anyone. And I was like, why aren't you taking anyone? I don't understand. They're like, oh, because of the COVID thing. Well, when you go inside my bank, to get to the teller, there's bulletproof glass and there's a little window like this that you can barely stick your fingers through. I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys are the safest there are. My daughter is working at like a supermarket at a store. I mean, she's getting, she's seeing 300-400 people a day. You're behind bulletproof glass. Why aren't you open? So I think a lot of these companies have used this too as a means of, let's say, excuses. But I mean, if you're behind a bulletproof window and you can't take people and you have just like a little thing with air in back, I don't know. But it kind of is what it is. But hopefully now, that we're seeing those vaccines out there, things are going to change. I don't know. We'll see. But as far as these drones, anyone interested in this like I am? I'm fascinated with the race drones. I think they are just so cool. I mean, absolutely cool. What do you guys think? Is this something that, you would be interested in building or buying or not? For me, I think it's just, a buddy of mine brought one over and I did some footage. I wish I can run it for you now, but I can't. He shot some footage for me, and he has one of these drones that he built, and it's just amazing, absolutely amazing, just so much fun. Anyways, let's get into a couple more comments before we get out of here. Sounds good. Seems like yeah. All right. Yeah. What do you guys? So tell me, what do you guys think about the Nikon and Canon? What do you guys think about that? For me, I was looking at Nikon. I know Canon came out with a statement saying, listen, we are definitely going to have to rethink and just maybe possibly change our expectations as far as new cameras and new lenses coming out for 2021. All right, I get it. Nikon comes out a couple of days ago with, we're cutting our workforce by 70%, down to 30% workforce. I mean, the other 70% of the people are just gone. So out of 1,000 people, you're looking at 700 of them at home. And I think they have 2,000 or so? They have a bunch in that area. So there's a lot, okay? So, God, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people at home. So hopefully they get this thing, together. I really don't know. But I think they're both going to be affected. And I think everyone in that area is going to be affected. So it's not just going to be them. So we'll see what ends up happening. For me, I think that, it's just like every time they take a step forward, they're taking two steps back. And then we have these smartphones that are just nipping at their heels. I just saw recently where Samsung is coming out with the S21, right? And God, I was looking at that thing. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell are they doing? 108 megapixels, It's the Galaxy S21, and they have like an Ultra, and they have the Plus, and they have all this stuff. Well, the Ultra is like $1,400, guys. $1,400 for a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. So, I mean, but 108 megapixels, right? And like 4 cameras and, the latest and greatest Snapdragon and all this other stuff. But they went from aluminum to like plastic. And they went from this to that. They cut corners a lot on this thing in comparison to the S20. So I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. But see, what happens here, guys, is people look at this and they're like, wow, there's a Samsung, Galaxy S21 that has 108 megapixels. Why would I get a camera that only has 30 megapixels, right? Because they're not photographers. They're not privy to the knowledge that they can possibly get from watching videos like this on YouTube, right? So in their mind, they're like 108 megapixels. I don't need a point and shoot. I'll just buy one of these things. Even though they don't realize that the sensor is literally like, 1/16 the size of, the one that's in a proper camera. And they're not going to be able to get great images out of it, and especially in low light. So, this is how it has been going, and that's why we're seeing Canon and Nikon and Sony and Fuji and Panasonic, and we see Olympus going belly up and being sold. So, this is what is happening. And I really do think that, like I said, we're taking a step forward and 2 steps back. It's really, I think, problematic. Let me get back into just a couple of these comments here. Larry, what's going on? Let's see. What did you say here? It says, I'm sad. I bought the D3500 as a learner. I'm not disappointed because it's fabulous entry level, and I'm already in manual mode. Heck yes. So yes, absolutely. You're talking about getting a decent camera. You really can't beat getting into a DSLR right now because the prices are just right. People don't want DSLRs, they want mirrorless. Why? Because it's the shiny new whatever, okay? And to learn manual focus on a DSLR, manual aperture, manual everything, right? And don't put the camera on P for professional, okay? It is a good thing, right? Once you learn the ins and outs of the camera, then later on, if you want to shoot aperture priority or if you want to shoot shutter priority, that's fine because now you know how to compensate. You know what the camera is thinking before it thinks it. Something like that, right? So in light of that, it's always good to be able to learn manual, and then later on when you are shooting auto, you're a better photographer because you understand what's going on. And if you're in a hard situation with, let's say, some really seriously horrible backlight, you know how to fix it. You can go into manual, fix it however you need to, and you're done. Whereas other people will never get the shot because they're just used to just simply putting on P for professional or aperture priority or shutter priority and calling it a day. And that just doesn't always work. So anyways, thanks a lot, Larry, for that. Let's see. I love photography. I respect your insight. Thank you. Keep them real. I appreciate that. We're going to keep on going. Hopefully people enjoy these, I'm doing this, like I said, late at night. It is now like 12:30 a.m. I'm going to cut it short, and I'm going to cut it in just a few minutes. But I'm doing it because a lot of people overseas have been requesting it. So I'm like, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and get on live and say hello to everyone overseas and some of the people that are on the other coast of the United States also, whereas it's midnight here, but over there it's only 9 o'clock. So anyways, let's see what else we say. Let's see. What else do we got here? Yep, DX and low price cameras. Yep, absolutely. What else we have? Right. All right. Michael and Paulette says, very sad news about Olympus. I have I feel you. I know you have an IM1, an OM10, lots of lenses. Sadly, I wore them both out with no other. Yeah, so that's the thing. You know, with Olympus, I think Olympus is a amazing camera manufacturer. They did really great with glass, but they got stuck in the mud. You know, I feel like they were another Kodak. The writing was on the wall. Okay, they needed to move. They needed to shuck and jive, and instead they stuck with Micro Four Thirds. And when they came out with that Micro Four Third $3,000 camera, I said that's the nail in the coffin. And I told you guys at the time, and people got pissed at me. But you know, I just call it as I see it. I'm not a fanboy. I don't, you know, I'm wrong a lot. You guys call me out on it. But anyways, I said that was it. You know, you just can't do it. It's just not going to happen. Conversely, we had Panasonic, right? Panasonic with their GH line, they had the GH line forever. It did really well, and it's Micro Four Thirds. I remember I used to tell the guys, I'm like, look, I'm not going to name any names, but one of the big U.S. guys over here, I'm like, you know, I used to interview all these guys when I was working with Digital Photography Cafe, doing interviews all over the country, from WPPI over in Las Vegas to Manhattan for PPE, Photo Plus Expo, for all the rest of the shows. I would interview with Trevor Current all of these movers and shakers as well as CEOs. I remember telling this person, I'm like, look, you need to move from Micro Four Thirds, go into APS-C, or better, full frame. And I remember him saying, Joe, you're out of your mind. Micro Four Thirds is all that you need. Look at all of our professionals using Micro Four Thirds. You're crazy. Yeah. So it was just under 2 years later, they came out with their S line, right? So you got their S5, S1H, and it is what it is. They ended up going mirrorless full frame. They needed to do it. They did it. They shucked and jived, and they did what they needed to do in comparison to Olympus that didn't. Panasonic still hasn't listened, though, when it comes to autofocus. They're still using contrast detect instead of using dual. Contrast detect plus phase. You need phase detection. They need to fix this. They need to move forward. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's legal, if it's patent, or if they're just thick-headed. I don't know. But I hope Panasonic gets it. I hope they get it. Because just recently, I was shooting with an EVA 1. You know what those are? There's a video camera, as well as an S1H. And we were doing some... Well, I'm like, so I can't really talk about it because I'm under an NDA, but let's just say we were doing some filming for someone really big, but I can't get into it. Anyways, so the EVA 1, you know, you're pulling your own focus, which is fine. But the S1H, it has an autofocus that Panasonic provides, and the thing is crap. It is complete crap. And I can't tell you how many shots were lost because the focus was damn all over the place. Okay? That's horrible. It's horrible. You cannot do, and so anyways, I'm going to get too deep into it. But anyways, Panasonic needs to fix that, right? They did move forward, unlike Olympus, but they really need to move into 2021 with some phase detect. Anyways, that's my personal opinion. We'll see what ends up happening. You know, they listened when it came to moving Micro Four Thirds into full frame. So that's good, at least. Anyways, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to get out. I don't want this to go on too long, so we're not going to leave you guys sitting around here for too long. And then we're going to be close to 1 o'clock. Let me see what else we got here. All right. All right, very sad. Yeah, I agree on the case. I think Nikon is still a better choice because of the awesome flange diameter. So as long as their combination lens and camera, they would be better. Yeah, so Nikon, I mean, look, I've said this in the past, okay? The Nikon D850 is the best DSLR out there, full frame. That's my personal opinion, okay? I'm a Canon shooter. But like I said, I'm always unbiased. I personally think that the Nikon D850 is the best DSLR full frame out there, period, ever made. Now, just before that, they came out with the D750, was just a hill of garbage. Not that the camera was bad, is because they just had a crap load of problems. And it was just this constant bringing it back and bringing it back and recall and recall and recall. And I remember at the time I said, look, if they don't fix that, they're going to be out of business. Okay. I said the D850 is going to be like, either they're going to make it or they're going to break it. It's like when Olympus came out with the $3,000 Micro Four Thirds, right? Nail in the coffin. Well, that's not what happened. The D850, no recalls. It was just stellar, okay? And it's still selling unbelievably, right? So yes, Nikon has a really good system. They're smart people over there. Their lenses are fantastic. Their cameras are fantastic. They do a really good job tweaking the Sony sensors, yada, yada, yada. It's a really good platform. So I'm hoping that they really start crushing it. And seeing those numbers that we reported on a couple of videos ago, where the Z6 Mark II and the Z7 Mark II popped into second position, only under Canon with their R5, I think it was. That's amazing. And that is really good. That tells the story that they're not out of it yet. They're doing really, really well. At the time, I said that, thank God they have a lot of inventory, and that's why they were able to hit that second spot, because they sold a lot of cameras, because it had to do with camera sales. The problem is now reducing their workforce by 70%, literally 30% of the people are going to be working. That is a problem. And how is that going to play out for first quarter? I don't know. I really don't know. It's really going to depend on how does Sony fare with this whole thing. Are they going to also end up getting stuck in the mud like Nikon is? How about Canon? Are they going to be, in the same position, and all the rest of the companies? I really don't know, but I'll be reporting back to you guys when I do find out what's going on. I do like to see the numbers that come out, and then I'll report back to you, because it kind of gives like a general consensus of what's going on. They are Japanese numbers. They're from Japan, like the, the BCN numbers and the latest numbers that I gave you. What was it, Mac Camera or whatever. So I will be reporting those numbers back to you as first quarter goes on, and then we'll take a look at it and see how all the companies are doing. Who's on top, who's on the bottom, where are they going, So once again, unbiased, right? I just call it as I see it. What else do we have here? Even Samsung had excellent ideas and a few cool cameras. Yep, right. NX, absolutely, absolutely. Let me see. Thanks for the video. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let's see. Why do you think it's best? Now, I'm not sure, Michael, if or maybe Paulette, if you're talking about the D850. I shoot like Canon. The D850 was, in my opinion, better than the Canon 5D Mark II, Mark III. That's just my opinion. I've seen fellow colleagues of mine with that camera, low light, it was doing better. It was doing better color when it was coming to low light. There was a lot of things that I liked the way it worked, and it was very rugged. It did a really good job. I've had a couple of problems with my Canon gear, whereas, you end up with, let's say, 125,000 shutter releases, and all of a sudden, you're replacing the shutter. The Nikons usually hold fast a little bit past that. They'll hit 150,000, 200,000, or even more. Now, for me, in the course of my, look, I've have a 10D, a 20D, a 30D, a 40D, a 5D, a 5D Mark II, a 3, a 4, 1Ds, a bunch of 1Ds. I got 7D, 7D Mark II. I got like a ton of cameras, okay? I'm like a damn collector instead of a photographer. But over time, you start buying cameras and you're like, should I sell it or should I just keep it? They want to give me $100 for it. I just keep it, right? So I have all these cameras. But so I've tried, I have like all of the Canon gear, and then I check out other gear when I need to, or if a colleague has it. So anyways, that's my personal opinion, but it kind of is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt, test it for yourself. Let's see. Nikon lenses prices have continued to drop. Yes, we have seen that. Don't forget the Nikon D600. Yes, the oil debacle. Yes, oil is always an issue. Now, Let me just tell you guys, I'm going to give you a quick tip. This is something that anyone listening should keep this in mind. If you have a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, okay, the sensors get dirty. You take a picture of the sky and you look at the sky and you see all these damn dots in there, right? What are those dots? It's just a bunch of crap on your sensor. Junk gets in there. Every time you change a lens, junk gets in there. Dust gets in there, debris, and it's a damn hot mess, okay? So if you don't want to go and sit there in whatever your editor of choice is and clone out all of this junk, you simply clean your sensor. That's one of the reasons why I put together the Aurora Camera Care product. There were sensor cleaners out there that I didn't like. There was a lot of them that would just send out a whole bunch of these little swabs and stuff, and then you'd have like a little thing of chemical that you don't know, is it like distilled water, is it actual cleaner, what the hell is it? And then you put drops on it, you don't know how many drops to use, it's just like a hot mess. And you just say, is it safe, the amount that I put on there, or am I gonna like grind it? So what I did is I created this system so that you have a dry and you have a wet. So you open up the wet and you do your sensor cleaning with the wet. It has the exact amount of cleaner on there every single time, right? And then you go over it with the dry until any of the residue is gone, and now you have a perfectly clean sensor. That's why I came up with the Aurora Camera Care products. You can find them on B&H or on Amazon or over at JCristina.com. Anyways, the problem with it is, like with this oil situation, is sometimes people do crazy stuff, even though you say in the instructions not to do it. Camera manufacturers put oil on the inside in certain areas for moving parts. If you go and clean your sensor and decide to go and touch anything besides the sensor itself to clean it, it's not really touching the sensor because there is a glass over it. Let's just call it touching the sensor and going over it, and you grab oil and then smear it over your sensor, well, it's kind of crazy. Okay, don't do it. But yes, Nikon did have an oil issue, whereas, after X number of, time, you get oil flapping around. It was like a mess. I think it had to do with the dexterity of the oil, and it got hot. And when it got hot, it started flying around. I don't know what the whole story was, but they did end up fixing it, and that was kind of the end of it. But anyways, if you're cleaning your sensor, always use those swabs only on the sensor, and don't touch anywhere around inside the damn camera, or you're going to pick up some oil and then smear it all over your sensor, and then you're going to have to go and do it all over again. All right, so just a little tidbit, okay? Because I get this all the time. People are like, oh, I don't know, I tried cleaning my sensor, it's smeared now. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I can tell you exactly what you did. If you want to listen to me and believe me or not, I'm going to tell you exactly what you did. Anyways, let's jump in here. What do we got? The D850 is a workhorse, Larry says. Absolutely. It is nasty. It is rugged. Definitely rugged. Let's see. I have a 1D. I have the original 1D. I have a 1D that cost me just over $7,000 that shoots 4.2 or 4.3 megapixels. All right? Don't hate on me. It is what it is, okay? But it is a beast. Matter of fact, that camera didn't even have a CMOS sensor in it. It had a CCD. People didn't even know that. So yeah, that was my first professional camera that was digital. I shot film for forever until that. But anyways, $7,000, 4.2, 4.3 megapixels. That's the first 1D. I still got it over there. Anyways, let's see, Pentax 11, so much, yeah, bucks. Let me see, do you think the rumor Canon high megapixel mirrorless is real? I really do, Gary. I think that Canon will be coming out with a high megapixel mirrorless. The R1 that I've always talked about is not it. The R1 is going to be a low megapixel camera, just like a 1D is a low megapixel professional $7,000 DSLR, okay? The same thing with the R1 is going to be the same. I'm gonna guess the R1 will probably be under 20 megapixels. If it's 24, it'll be way too much. I mean, I'm thinking maybe 20, 18 megapixels, something like that. People listen to that, they'll be like, what the hell, Joe? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. Because it needs to do a ton, and they can't be able to shoot 20, 25, 30 frames per second. with a 30 megapixel sensor. It just doesn't happen. Anyways, there's a lot more that goes into it with light, and then there's a whole bunch of things. But trust me, the R1 will not have a high megapixel to it, but they should be coming out with a high megapixel camera probably before the end of this year. Now, Canon did state that we don't know if this is going to affect our release. Like we said, that's with the RF lenses as well as the mirrorless bodies, but we'll see what ends up happening. I really don't know. We'll have to kind of play it, play it by ear. And if once I hear something, I'm going to let you guys know. Let me see. I'm getting your cleaning kit too. Would your other calibration tool be good for the D3500? Okay, so the focus pyramid that I invented about 10 or 11 years ago for doing autofocus lens calibration, it's for DSLRs, not for mirrorless, obviously. You have to check that D3500, Larry. I'm not sure if it allows you to do lens calibration or micro adjustments or whatever. You have to find out. If it says that it can, then absolutely. You can pick up a focus pyramid. You can dial in every single lens. If you guys don't know what that is, the focus pyramid autofocus lens calibration tool that I invented, it looks like a pyramid. I don't have one here. No. Oh, well. Anyways, it looks like a pyramid, and it allows you to dial in your lens to your body. So if the body allows you to do micro adjustments, you can throw on, let's say, a 50 millimeter. Use the pyramid to dial in that specific lens to your body. It might be, let's say, -5 as far as calibration to get the autofocus to the exact spot. Then you throw on like a 70 to 200, and it might be, let's say, +7. Then you throw on your 24 to 70, it might be -3. Whatever it is, the camera then remembers it. So when you snap on that 50, it's like, oh, hey, we need to be -5 for this, or whatever it is. You always have perfect autofocus. How many times do people, pick up their camera? For me, I was doing a lot of fashion, and you would pick up your camera and you would shoot the model, you lock in on the eyelashes, you take the shot. You work your breathing. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. You work your perfect, boom, you got it. Then later on in post-production, you look at it, you're like, what the hell? The eyelashes, I know I was dead on, are blurry, but the back of her ear is clear. Or the eyelashes are blurry, but the tip of her nose, you can see every little fuzz on her nose. What the hell? And it's very aggravating, right? Well, that's because you have to calibrate your lens to your body. If it's not calibrated, it ain't gonna be right, period. You can get a brand new lens and strap it to your body, and I guarantee you it needs to be calibrated. That's just how it is, okay? So the manufacturers allow for autofocus lens calibration. Use it, guys. Use it. It'll just be so much easier, and, let's say it will make your life less miserable in post-production when you look at the perfect shot and you're like, Jesus, it's off. Holy crap. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, find out, Larry, if the D3500 allows for it. Let me see, looking on Sony, got the Nikon F1 1970. Yeah, I still use a Minolta SRT 102. I absolutely love it. It is a all manual, full frame, let's call it. Obviously, it's a 35 millimeter film camera. I love it. All of my work that I do and I display at galleries, I do a lot of 60 by 40 prints. And these prints I do, and I display them at galleries, and I sell them at galleries, and this type of thing. That fine art work that I do is done all with that camera and a few other black and white film cameras that I used. I just absolutely love. So they're either medium format or they're full frame. But yeah, I love that Minolta SRT 102. I've done a lot of work with that, a lot of work. Anyways, so let's see, let's get back into this. I don't know, 11 megapixels, CMOS, Runner Suite. It's a tank, absolutely. That 1D that I have, that's only 4.3 megapixels, you can literally beat someone. Actually, that thing has been through war. Few war times. Anyways, you can beat someone over the head with it, take their picture after they're unconscious. I mean, that's how unbelievable those cameras are built. They're built to take a beating and go through the mud. 1DS, yeah, absolutely. I'd like to see a Canon R5S, no 8K. Yes, there's a lot of people that said, listen, let's get a Canon R Series out there that does not have 8K, that has a ton of megapixels. And I think they're going to do it, guys. I really, really do. There's no reason for them not to do it. And probably it's going to be in that 3,500 range, I'm going to guess, but we'll see. Let me see what else here. Let's see. How do you calibrate? All right. One last question. GoPro users at all. Calibration. I mean, you can look on YouTube. I did like 4 calibration videos. Check them out. There's probably like 100,000 views on those things. Go check them out. I calibrate a couple of different cameras. Some cameras allow you to do 1 calibration per lens. Other cameras will allow you to do 2. So you'll be able to do a telephoto calibration and a wide calibration. So if you have a 70 to 200, you can calibrate at 70 and you can calibrate at 200. If you have a camera that only allows 1, for me, I'll calibrate at the specific focal length that I will use the lens at. So my 70 to 200, I shoot portraits a lot at 180. So I'll calibrate at 180 millimeters. That's what I do. Other people, they'll take a mean, they'll go something in between, maybe around 135, calibrate there. So hopefully your camera will allow you to do wide as well as telephoto. Anyways, GoPro, well, for me, I have a bunch of GoPros. I really don't use them much. I do some diving. I got some really crazy shots of a manatee that swam by me, like, I don't know, a couple feet away. Sea cow, a manatee. It was literally bigger than his death. It's like, I don't know, 9 feet. Probably weighed half a ton. I don't know. Anyways, guys, I don't want this to go on forever. If there's any other questions that you have, throw them in there right now. I figure I'll just kind of hang out for a couple more minutes. In the meantime, let me see here if there is anything else here that pops up that I want to share with you guys before I get going, because there was a lot of stuff that has come out this week, but it's more like CES stuff. So it's kind of like looky-see, looky this, like, oh, look at this. And you really don't know how it is as of yet because they don't really get into it too much. There's not a lot of kind of hands-on besides what you can hand-on when you're there. Not a lot of reviews or anything. Some interesting patents coming out of Canon. I'll get into that probably in a separate video. What else do we got here? Some Sigma stuff. There's a lot interesting things going on third party. Some of the manufacturers, hopefully like Nikon and Canon, will open up their mirrorless to third parties like Sigma and the rest of them. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Hopefully, it seems like that is going to be happening. So that's going to help a lot when it comes to people going into that specific camera brand. A lot of people are looking at, for example, going into a mirrorless Canon and saying, wow, I got to buy all RF glass or I have to adapt it. A lot of people don't like adapting it. They want to buy like third-party glass, So I think it's right around the corner, guys. So hang tight. Just like Sony, you get all the third-party that you want, I think that's the same thing that's going to happen with Canon and Nikon. So we'll see how it goes, but you can actually quote me on that one. You'll see it soon. Let me see. Do you think Sony will bring this year a new APS-C with all the best? I think they almost have to. They're not going to move away from APS-C. Sony's made a lot of money on their APS-C line. Yes, they've made money on their full frame, but their APS-C is really their money makers, right? Besides their A7 Mark III that just crushed it. We all know that, right? Matter of fact, I recommended people, I say this all the time, I'm a Canon guy. People are like, oh, you're a fanboy. It's like, no. I recommended anyone getting into a full-frame mirrorless camera go with a Sony A7 III for a couple of years, literally from the very beginning. The first week that it came out, I'm like, this is it. All right, this is it. They gave you like everything in the kitchen sink. And for under like that $2,000 mark, I mean, you couldn't beat it. You really couldn't beat it. Now with Nikon and Canon getting into the game, you know, Nikon now has a camera to me feels more, let's say, right. I mean, the grip is right. You know, you're getting there's stuff that they're finally getting right in there. I think that Nikon can be a great way to go, either with the Z6, Z7. Canon now has second editions, second iterations of their cameras, their R Series stuff. So, you know, either one. It doesn't have to be Sony anymore, which is really good because it opens things up. And of course, APS-C, one of my favorite cameras out there is, you know, Fujifilm. I mean, Fujifilm has an amazing APS-C camera. Their, you know, X-T4 just kills it. Absolutely kills it. I love that camera, okay? I don't own it. I've played with it. I've done a lot of testing with it. And it's just one of those things where it's just very tactile. It reminds me of my Minolta SRT 102, you know? Very tactile. A great experience. And there's something to be said about holding a camera and wanting to go and create images, make photos, right? There's something to be said about that. Ergo is very important to me, all right? I would say that it's just second underneath, you know, quality of the actual photo. I'd probably reduce some of the quality to have really good ergo and go out there and just be comfortable and just want to use the camera, okay? And I think Fuji has it in spades. So I do think that we're gonna see, back to the question, I do think we'll see a APS-C from Sony this year, almost 100% for sure. They were light on releases last year, in my personal opinion. Let's see. Good night to everyone, Larry. All right, bud. Get out. Let's see. Astro live stream the other night was the best. Thank you so much. I have someone else that does Astro, and I'm going to try to see if I can get him on. And so hang in there. A lot of people love the astrophotography session that we did live the other day. So I'm going to try to do another one. Also, I'm going to do more of these lives, but bring you guys on board. So if you guys haven't went over to the Discord server as of yet, go to the Discord server. Go to community.JCristina.com. Once again, community.JCristina.com. Go to the Discord server, all right? Yeah, the whole idea is when you go there, you get to be at a place where there's hundreds and hundreds of other photographers, videographers, and tech heads, and we can have conversations. But also, what's really nice is I can then also have you guys on here with me right through Discord. So either through video or just audio. The other thing that I want to say is if there's any way that you guys can send over audio questions, do so. You can do it through the Discord server. Go check it out over there. If not, maybe you can send it straight over through email or however. I want to get some either video or possibly audio. I'm going to probably put a page up on the website over at JCristina.com. I'll probably put a page up where you can upload. So I want to get, you know, questions from you guys because there's so many great questions and comments that come through that I want to be able to answer them. So when I'm doing an actual video, let's say, and not something live, I can possibly, like the last 10 minutes, go over all these questions that I received in the last day or two. Last week I was putting out videos like every day or every other day. I think I got 4 out for the week. I'm going to try continuing with this speed of putting out content. I'm kind of trying to get this all put together so that it's easy for me to be able to put it out quick. So we'll see what happens with that. But yes, astrophotography, amazing. If you guys didn't watch that, go check that out. Let me see here. Let me see. Medium format. Yes. Fujifilm GFX. Unbelievable. The new GFX. What is it? It's 102 megapixel. The GFX 100S or whatever. That's right around the corner. Another amazing camera from Fuji. Fuji decided not to go down the full frame thing and end up in a bloodbath like everyone else. They circumvented full frame and went straight to medium format. Smartest thing that they've done, all right? Smartest thing. And now the entire medium format industry is up on its head because literally Fuji is giving let's say, a crop of their sensor. And when I say that, it's slightly smaller than like a Hasselblad or Phase 1 or something, but still medium format. You know, many times more resolution. Okay, trust me on this. Anyways, really, really amazing stuff. Even their 50 megapixels are amazing. The 50R, 50S, beautiful cameras. What does Sean says? Have you heard news about Canon 18 millimeter f2? I think you mentioned it last year. It would be great for Astro. Absolutely. I have not heard anything about that, but yes, I know we talked about it. I think it was fourth quarter last year or something. So we'll see what happens. Canon did say we don't know what's going to go on with this whole COVID and a reduction and, you know, all this compliance that they're having to do and all the rest of the stuff. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Hopefully things kind of get better quicker, you know, sooner than later. Anyways, guys, let me just say, you guys asked me about the Focus Pyramid and also the Aurora Camera Care product and any of my products. If you're still here, if you use promo code YT20 over at checkout, over at JCristina.com, you'll get 20% off anything that you purchase from over there. Also, I have to say that if you enjoy this even a little bit, give it a thumbs up and do me a favor and share it with friends and family or colleagues or maybe a photography group that you're associated with on Facebook or something, all right? Share the videos, okay? I'm trying to grow this channel as quick as possible to get out there to a more, let's say, a greater abundance of like-minded people, all right? Like I've always said, there's like no trolls on this channel. You go to other channels and you'll see this, all these, like the comments are just trolly. I'm looking at the comments, there's not a single troll, okay? That's just how it is. I don't have to be in there and have a moderator constantly deleting people's crap. It just doesn't happen, and I'm blessed for that. So if you like this kind of content, share it. Also, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell icon over here so that when I do go live like now, or if I come out with a new video, you're notified of it immediately. Also, don't forget that community.jcristina.com. community.jcristina.com. Join. It is free. And if you want to, let's say, give back to the channel in any way. A lot of you guys have said, hey, do you have a PayPal account? Do you have what I want to send you a couple of bucks? I'm like, no, just don't do that. So finally, YouTube was allowing us now to have a membership. So if you click down here, the join button, you can contribute $1, $5, whatever a month, and I can give you perks. I want to give back, you know. I hate taking and not giving something. All right. So if you want to contribute to the channel, you can click the join button down there. One more pass through as far as there's any more questions here. Great show. Love photography. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Gary. Thanks. Enjoyed. Thank you so much, Gary, for being here. Marvin, you're all professionals. Absolutely. You know, honestly, Marvin, that I have to say, I did a quick poll on this channel. The majority of the people here are not professionals. Even though sometimes I feel like they are, they're not. And I have to, in 2021, I need to kind of change my means or my way of providing the information, because sometimes I think that I come across a little highbrow with some of this stuff because I'm literally in the industry for more than 2.5 decades, right? So I might get a little too deep into stuff, and I'm going to try boiling stuff down a little bit, because I did find it was like 65-70% of the people on the channel are either amateurs or pro-ams. And it's a very small, maybe like 20%, something like that, are actually professionals. So that's just the way it is. There's not as many professionals as there was before, but there's a lot of people that are thinking about doing it as a side hustle. We all need a side hustle these days, right? Making this, doing that, doing this, doing that. We all have like 4 or 5 jobs. It's not like our grandparents that worked at the factory and got like a 401k, you know, and a pension. What the hell is that even anymore, right? It just doesn't happen. So anyways, let's see. These days, title professional is super wide. Absolutely. I agree, Phil. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. Many blessings to all of you guys. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully there's people that were able to come from overseas online and see this. And if not, if you're watching this after the fact, it's okay. No problem. Don't forget, in the comment area, add your questions, add your thoughts. Let me know what you think about Canon and Nikon reducing their people in their facilities by 70%. Literally only 30% of their people will be working for the next month or two or whatever. What do you think about Sony flying high with their new Airpeak? And now towards spring of 2021, coming out with a new business, guys. Sony, new business, wrapped around this drone thing, right? We'll see what ends up going on with that. Once again, like I always said, Sony throws a lot of crap against the wall to see what sticks. And what doesn't stick, they sweep away, all right? That's how Sony works. They've been like that forever. So anyways, guys, many blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.